In the year 165 AD, the Roman Empire stood at the height of its power, stretching from Britain to the Middle East, from North Africa to what is now Germany. With over 1,000,000 square kilometers of territory, millions of inhabitants, a formidable army, and a thriving trade network, Rome seemed invincible. Yet when an empire reaches its peak, it also becomes vulnerable to its greatest challenges. And one fateful day, an invisible enemy emerged. Not barbarian cavalry, not internal rebellions, but a mysterious disease that silently crept into its cities, streets, and homes. At first, only a few soldiers fell ill after returning from campaigns in the East. No one paid much attention. But as days passed, the number of infected grew at an alarming rate. Fevers raged, relentless coughing echoed through the streets, and their bodies became covered in painful pustules and sores. Some tried to fight it off, but within days they collapsed. The funeral pyres never stopped burning, the streets grew eerily silent, and the stench of decaying corpses filled the air. Rome, the center of the known world, was now shrouded in the shadow of a deadly plague. The people were terrified. Physicians were powerless. The rulers were in despair. And Emperor Marcus Aurelius, one of Rome's greatest leaders, could do nothing but watch as his empire slowly crumbled. Not to war, but to a devastating epidemic. Today we will uncover the mystery of the Antonine Plague, a catastrophe that claimed millions of lives and played a role in steering the Roman Empire toward its decline. In 165 AD, the Roman army returned victorious from their campaign against the Parthian Empire. But instead of bringing home only glory, they unknowingly carried an invisible enemy, a mysterious disease that was about to sweep across the empire. Historians believe the plague may have originated in Mesopotamia, where the Roman army was stationed. However, another theory suggests that the disease actually came from China, traveled along the Silk Road to Parthia, and from there infiltrated Rome. At first, only a few soldiers fell ill, but soon the number of infections skyrocketed. They suffered from high fevers, violent coughing, and blistering sores covering their bodies. Within days, many collapsed, never to rise again. The historian and physician Galen was the first to document this devastating plague in detail. He described symptoms resembling smallpox or measles, though at the time no one understood viruses or bacteria. Within months, the disease spread throughout Rome. The city descended into chaos. The people were desperate. Emperor Marcus Aurelius could do nothing but watch as his empire crumbled before him. But this was only the beginning. So what happened when the pandemic reached its peak? Could Rome survive? Let's continue our journey to find out. And then, the worst happened. The disease did not stop at the military camps, but quickly spread, creeping into every city, every home, plunging the entire Roman Empire into unprecedented terror. Within just a few months, the pandemic engulfed the entire Roman Empire. From military camps, the disease spread rapidly into major cities, especially Rome, the heart of the empire. The streets were littered with corpses, and the smoke from funeral pyres never ceased. Panic gripped the population. Doctors were powerless, and the government had no idea how to respond. The plague did more than just claim lives. It devastated the economy. Farmers died in droves, leaving fields abandoned and harvests wasted. Trade ground to a halt. The empire's infrastructure began to crack. Even Rome's elite legions were not spared. Widespread infections severely weakened the military, leaving the empire's borders more vulnerable than ever. Emperor Marcus Aurelius struggled to regain control. He ordered new troops to be recruited, implemented rudimentary medical measures, and even dipped into the imperial treasury to aid the suffering populace. But it was all in vain. The plague continued its relentless rampage, sparing no one, rich or poor, from humble farmers to the highest ranks of the aristocracy. Before the catastrophe, Emperor Marcus Aurelius knew this was no ordinary plague. It was the greatest crisis Rome had ever faced. He immediately ordered the mobilization of all remaining resources to salvage the situation. But when faced with an invisible enemy, even the greatest emperor was powerless. The plague continued to spread, sparing neither the rich nor the poor, leaving no one untouched. The once invincible Roman army was now being ravaged from within. The surviving soldiers were too weak to fight, and the frontier legions grew increasingly vulnerable. Seizing the opportunity, barbarian tribes from the north and east launched relentless invasions, forcing the empire to defend itself while teetering on the brink of exhaustion. Inside Rome, chaos reigned. Bustling marketplaces now lay deserted, corpses piled up in the streets, and the survivors could do nothing but pray in despair. No one understood what was happening. Even the most skilled physicians failed to find a cure. And the emperor, though the most powerful man in the empire, could not stop this nightmare. Yet Marcus Aurelius did not surrender. He fought to maintain stability, even in the face of hopelessness. He issued financial relief for the people, recruited soldiers from the lowest classes to reinforce the army, and even expanded citizenship to foreigners to bolster manpower. He did everything within his power, but still he could not prevent the empire's decline. In 180 AD, Marcus Aurelius fell ill. Not long after, he took his final breath on the battlefield. His death was not just the passing of an emperor. It marked the end of Rome's golden age. The once mighty empire now stood on the edge of collapse. The death of Marcus Aurelius was not just the end of a reign, it marked the beginning of a new and turbulent chapter for Rome. The once mighty empire was now crippled by disease, its economy in shambles, its military weakened, and its borders more vulnerable than ever. The Antonine Plague wiped out approximately 5 million people, around 10% of Rome's population. Vast lands were abandoned, cities lost a significant portion of their inhabitants, and the economy could no longer recover as it once had. With a severe labor shortage, production stalled, food became scarce, prices soared, and Rome entered an irreversible decline. But the most devastating consequence was the shift in the empire's power structure. After Marcus Aurelius, his son, Commodus, ascended the throne, but he lacked the talent and vision to maintain the empire's stability. From that point forward, Rome's decline accelerated, leading to a series of political crises, civil wars, and ultimately, the fragmentation of the empire. The Antonine Plague was not just a medical catastrophe, it was a harbinger of Rome's eventual downfall. Was it merely a historical event, or did it fundamentally alter the course of the world? The Antonine Plague not only devastated the Roman Empire, but also altered the course of history. It proved that even a great superpower could fall before an invisible enemy. Rome did not collapse overnight, but this was the turning point that set the stage for its gradual decline over the following centuries. Looking back at history, we see that pandemics have always had a profound impact on the world, from the Antonine Plague to the Black Death in Europe, and even modern pandemics. They have not only claimed countless lives, but also shaken civilizations that once seemed invincible. So, what can we learn from the past? A strong empire is not built solely on its military or economy, but on its ability to adapt to unexpected disasters. And perhaps history always repeats itself, only with different names, different eras, but the lessons remain the same. What do you think about this event? If the Antonine Plague had never happened, would the Roman Empire have lasted longer? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Untaught Truth to explore more fascinating untold stories from history.